Hi, everybody. Joel Harrison here with the Alternative Guitar Summit. I've got a new podcast with Steve Tibbetts, mystery man from Minnesota. We talk at length about Steve's completely original approach to the guitar, which he's crafted over 5 decades. If you like what you're hearing and you want more of it, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Alternative Guitar Summit is the name of the channel, and I appreciate your support.
There we go.
Man, that is far out. I'm here with Steve Tibbetts, and I've been listening to you for decades, and you're kind of a mystery man to me because you stopped, as far as I knew, performing, or at least I never saw you perform. So this is really great for me. So I'm just going to start asking you questions, and we'll just take it from there. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
All right, so I wondered when I was listening to some of your acoustic playing what you were playing. Now I'm looking at a 12-string guitar. And is it a Martin? Wow. Okay. Those are pretty rare.
This one is especially rare because it's got a really nice crack along the back.
Wow.
That's where it got smashed by the airlines flying into Columbus, Ohio.
Huh. Well, all right.
But
So
it ended up sounding better after Ron at St. Paul Guitars glued it back together.
oh wow. Huh. Okay. So the effect that I hear when I'm not looking at you play, I'm thinking he might be playing a fretless because there's a way that you are negotiating your left hand that sounds, I don't hear a lot of attack. I hear a bloom of a note and a lot of attention to the pitch of the note. And I know you've been interested in, I believe you've been interested in Eastern music. I know you collaborated with at least 2 musicians from Tibet, Nepal. And I just would like you to talk about how Eastern music has influenced you and talk a little bit about how you just did what you did.
Well, the first part is easy. I've got a volume pedal on the guitar here, so let's bring it up. So that gives me a way to. You can hear that. The second thing is that I've got this guitar strung in double courses. So I've got, instead of a 12-string, normal 12-string, it's a G, G, a D, D, A, A, and then I have it tuned funny. So that gives me a chance to make a little more harmonic movement. And then what you're hearing in the background is I've got this little pickup here. You can see it. It's a
Yeah.
Fishman,
Uh-huh.
and the Fishman is driving an ancient software program made by Mark of the Unicorn called M5, which has got samples that I've recorded in various places in the world. You got that?
Yeah, but what is the sample?
Let's see if you can figure it out. You know how it is when you
Sounds like
run your finger around a wine glass?
Oh.
Okay, so those are my wife's set of wine glasses up here. here are some Tibetan longhorns that I recorded in Sikkim.
Wow. So but what is triggering the harm? It sounds like an eventide to me, the harmonized chords, because you're hitting one note and then in a completely different register, I'm hearing like fifths and fourths from something.
Right, I've got them mapped out diatonically. I can get even a little more extreme here with fifths.
Back to asking you the question that I asked before, which was you're triggering somehow you're triggering these chords that are not from the string that you're playing, the lower fourths and fifths, and you were explaining that to us how you do that. You're mapping this out some way.
Right, I'm mapping it out string by string.
I don't
so
understand
up here,
how you can do that.
Well, I'm not.
No, but like how I mean, I know. Is this a MIDI controller that you're using that does that?
Yes.
Though
I don't use a MIDI a MIDI cable. It goes wireless now. This is all ancient technology. The software that I use, the sample software, Mach 5, made by Mark of the Unicorn, is no longer supported by the company. So I'm 5 or 6 iterations behind on operating systems, but that's the way it goes. It works, and I like it, and it sort of is, as you can hear, instant music.
Yeah.
You add a loop to that, something this, and you've got instant.
So different string sets are sent to different sample sources?
Right, this string here, and they're also sent to different attacks. So if I hit this note, you'll hear an bowed. That's a bowed dulcimer. But if I hit it harder, you'll hear a chord that I mapped in there. Here's a simple one, simple note. So it's just a matter of, wait a minute, hang on here. It's a matter of, it's a lot of intensive work, very labor intensive work, but what else have I got to do?
So wait a minute, you did all, so you set up this mapping system, decades ago, years ago?
Yeah, it was sort of a study in desperation. I made that record with Choying Droma, the Tibetan nun.
Yeah.
I made a demo tape and I sent it to a couple of people. I sent it to a writer and a friend of mine, Rob Simons, who lives in town, who was seeing great success with his label Rykodisc.
Mm-hmm.
And Rykodisc had just purchased Hannibal Records. Hannibal, run by Joe Boyd, the legendary, the famous, the god, Joe.
Yeah.
I don't need to. You can look him up and find out how he produced the first Pink Floyd record and so forth.
Right.
And Joe said, "Well, how much does he want? Where do we sign?" And these are words that we musicians who work by ourselves all the time, we like to hear that.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
much? How much does he want? And where do we sign?
Wow.
So I asked them, can we look at somehow bringing them over and going out on the road? And they said, sure, sure, we'll give you some dough for that. Now this is the mid '90s when all the record companies were selling their catalogs for the second time because of compact discs.
Right.
So they were pretty flush.
Mm.
So they said, sure. We made the record. It did reasonably well. And they said, you want to book a tour? We'll find someone to book a tour for you. So I had to come up with a way of bringing this to the, to the stage.
So
How am I going to make the intimacy and the vastness of what I was hearing inside these lakongs, these shrine rooms in Nepal and Tibet, come alive at wherever, Brooklyn Academy of Music? Where are you located?
I'm in Brooklyn, but I wasn't here in the '90s,
Yeah, well, boy,
see.
that was a great room. It sounded incredible. It's like a
Yeah.
cathedral. We did a sound check, and I thought, there's no way that this is not going to be an incredible show.
Okay,
So,
but I'm going to come back to that record because I was very struck by that when it came out as a fan of Indian music and guitar. And this was a completely novel way of addressing those two things. But you're talking about performing, and I believe you that you have performed. But when but you no longer perform, or do you perform incredibly irregularly? Because I certainly have never seen your name in a town that I've lived in, and I keep my eyes open for those things.
well, incredibly irregularly would be the right way. That's
Why?
that'd be a good title for a record or a band.
You and Steely Dan until more recently. Why?
Yeah,
Why?
yeah.
Why?
Well, if the gig is weird enough and far enough away, we'll do it. We played in Singapore just a couple of years ago at a beautiful concert hall called the Esplanade.
Huh.
And we asked for a lot, not in terms of money, but we asked, can we come over there a month, or not a month, 3 days early, rehearse and settle in and walk around? And they said, sure.
Hmm.
Well, you can't turn that down.
Yeah.
Or this festival in southern Norway that was 2 years ago called Punkt, Punkt, started by David Sylvian and
Huh.
somebody else, and they said, well, what we'll do is we'll have you and Mark play, then we're going to sample what you do and improvise around that. That
Wow.
sounded fun. It was
Yeah.
fun. And you'll play in a church. You'll have great acoustics.
Hmm.
Is it a deal? Sure.
So what you're
But
not doing is putting yourself out there on the regular touring circuit of the college auditoriums or the packs. You'd presumably rather stay at home and make music on your
sure.
own.
Yeah, something like that. We have done that. We have done the trip many times from New York to Pittsburgh and then back to uh, Philadelphia and then to Chicago and then to Denver and then an overnight drive to Portland and then down the coast. And it was great. It was great fun. But now I also have another job. Musicians off these days, and in all of my days, needed to have another job, and I work part-time as a nurse.
Ah,
So I like doing that every other weekend, and it uh, helps to stay around to keep that in process. And um, I don't know. Have you been on the road much? Get in a Ford Econoline van and drive to
you know
Boise,
that
Idaho?
it's kind of losing its charm.
Well, it had its romance. Wow, we're
Yeah.
packing up the van. It's a
Yeah.
Ford. It's white. It's an Econoline. Who's gonna drive? I'm gonna drive. Or then you graduate to a Ryder truck, right? You're carrying a lot of gear. There's a lot of romance to it,
Yeah.
but it does grind you down a little bit.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
I do love traveling, but these days, if I'm going to travel, I would rather that there be something really interesting at the end, not a Taco Bell and a Motel 6. Though it's almost worth it to get out and play
Yeah.
for people. So if we get the right offer, the weird place, or even not so weird, we'll do it.
Gotcha.
We played at in New York. The last time we played there was at the Shakespeare place. What is it?
The Delacorte Theater up in.
No, it's right downtown.
Joe's Pub.
Yeah, that was great.
Oh, that's a good hall.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got that right. Boy, that was fun.
Yeah, that's a good place.
Yeah.
Well, somehow I missed it, but you're referring to a we, and I really want to address this because Mark, your co-conspirator who plays percussion, is really an extraordinary musician. I love the fact that this duo is so complete in itself and of itself. But what I want to know is, well, first of all, how does this guy play so many instruments, and what does his space look like? Because he must have a hell of a lot of percussion, and I want to see that guy's room someday. But
Well,
how do you?
he's getting rid of a lot of stuff. When he comes over here, he brings quite a bit and says, "Do you want these gongs?"
Yeah.
I say
But,
no.
but how do you guys work together? How does, you know, give me a couple of examples of, so for instance, let me feed you a more specific question. How much of what you're doing is improvising together? How much of what you're doing is you're presenting some sort of rough outline of what you want to do and he fits in? And then how much is the studio the third member of the group?
Yes. The answer is yes. All of the above. In the old days, that would be from 1980 on, we were just learning how to record, really. So there was a lot of long, long days where really nothing at all happened. But again, you're 24, so what else have you got to do?
Right.
It's like getting into the Ford Econoline van, except you're in your little studio.
Yeah.
Let's figure out how do we make a conga sound good? And Mark says, I have no idea. I said, well, I have 2 mics. This is it. And then we find our way. Around middle of the 80s, we were more interested in creating more harmonic blends of his percussion. So we would work hard to build up lines of drums that were in tune. By that time we knew how to record them, and then I would work out something on guitar over them. He was very much the bass. I'm thinking of the tune Vision from Safe Journey. These days I bring him into the studio and show him what I'm doing, and he's more of a producer now, or a confidant, or a psychologist. I probably work alone too much, right? So I'm not so sure if what I'm doing is worthwhile, or if I'm recording it well anymore. And he'll say, calm down. This is good. Keep going. Don't worry about the fret noise. You know, that it is, you are using phosphor bronze strings, so don't worry about that. It's worth it in order to get that nice harmonic thing going. Bye. And then he's gone. And then, so I work for a while, then then when I'm ready to have him come and fill in, these days, I set up as many mics as I can. He brings in everything he's got that he thinks will work, and then it's about a week-long process. It's a week-long process of me pulling away mics. We don't need all these microphones. Or he'll say, you know, for this thing where you wanted an enormous drum sound with a snare and a kick and a timpani and a bunch of gongs, I think you need just a frame drum. And I'll say, oh, Mark, you're so wrong. And then 3 hours later, he's so right.
That's cool.
So that's how it is now.
Yeah.
He's a good producer. He can say this is worth following, and when you come to the end, this last record I had 72 minutes of music, and he said, "Oh, Steve, when I put in a CD and if it's more than 70 minutes, I get a headache."
Yeah, I know.
Unless it's Bach, violin partitas maybe. Yeah. It is tempting.
Yeah, you want to fill it up.
Well, I said, then you have to help me.
Yeah. All right, so the thing, there's a few things that are remarkable about this to me. One is you started really early on this journey, this vision that you had. You didn't, as far as I can tell, flounder around. I mean, maybe you played in top 40 bands and did Deep Purple covers and played in Allman Brothers cover bands when you were 19 like me, but it seems like your discography starts when you're pretty damn young, like in your early 20s or mid 20s. Am I right that you heard something that others weren't hearing and went straight to it?
Well, you know, they talk about the Minneapolis sound. Remember that?
Yeah, I never knew what that was.
Well, I know it does. It doesn't mean anything, but you could say it's the sound of ignorance. I just really didn't know what I was doing.
Good quote. My wife's from Minneapolis. I'm going to use that one on her.
We're not in Midtown.
But you had a vision. You did.
No, I didn't really have a vision. I just did the best I could, and I also got very, very lucky with ECM.
Yeah.
And with distributors and college radio stations.
Mm.
In those days, pressing and selling your own record was not that common. 78, 79, so forth. So you had a company not too far from you in New York City, New Music Distribution Service.
Yep.
They sold 20,000 copies of my second record.
That's an astonishing amount.
Well, I thought maybe there's hope. However, I would have been happy to be the second guitar player in somebody's band. I used to work for Schoen Productions in town here, and I remember going to a festival that had, what was it, Chicago and Boz Scaggs just before Silk Degrees came out. And I thought I'd be happy to be one of those guys.
Wow.
And
okay.
And the guitar player in Chicago was incredible. It wasn't Terry Katz. It was somebody else. The guitar player with Boz Scaggs, you know who that was?
Way back when?
Yeah.
Well, you mean post Dwayne Allman.
Yeah. I'm talking Silk Degrees.
I don't remember it, no.
Steve Lukather.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So, had somebody said, we want you for our band, I would have said, let's put this vision aside and start playing arenas.
Yeah. Okay, so you know, very little of what you do on your records is what I would consider conventional guitar playing. I mean, and so one would not necessarily know that you started out with any sort of conventional playing, but you're saying you did. But
in high school, in my high school band, yes.
Okay. So then you got into this other thing, and yeah, you know, that ECM, that was lucky.
It really was
That's
lucky.
amazing. I remember looking at this. Who is this guy? Well, amazing. How did he make this happen?
How did
And
it keep happening? One of the world's coolest labels, if not the world's coolest label, and then ECM gets shot out through the giant cannon of whatever it is these days,
hmm, yeah,
Universal Music Group. It's lucky.
yeah, but you know, you make your luck also.
Well, they trust me, and I don't try to fit into the catalog, but there are some musicians on the label that don't really fit anywhere else. So I settle into that jigsaw puzzle pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel that the thing, the only corollary I could make with what you were doing is what some of the folks in Norway have done. There's a little, and even today, there's a little bit of a feeling that some of those guitar players have some kinship with you, even Terje Reepdahl, but it's completely different.
Well, I listened to him long before he listened to me.
Yeah,
That's for sure. Or
yeah.
Bill Connors.
Oh, I love Bill Connors.
Well, in this very studio that you're looking at, one night I was uh, cleaning up, winding cable after doing a session with Susie Katz, and I put on Theme to the Guardian, one of
Hmm.
ECM's first releases, first hundred for sure. And she said, "Wow, Steve, that guy sounds like you." And I said, "No,
Yeah,
no, he came first.
yeah.
I sound like him. I got this vibrato from him. He drew a lot of harmonics, and he would linger on notes.
Hmm.
He did that with electric guitar too, with Chick Corea in Return to Forever.
I saw that group with him, and it was amazing.
So did I.
Yeah, my
I
favorite Chick Corea concert ever.
Yes, yeah. And I was working for Schoen Productions. It was a Steve Miller concert, Luther Allison starting up, and then this guy, whoever a Chick Corea was, playing in the middle. Back when they would put together bands that made no sense to have together, right? Luther Allison blues, Chick Corea, who's that? And then Steve Miller, who was just about to become a superstar with Joker.
Yeah,
Was that the album? It's
I
called The
don't.
Joker.
Well, that was one of them. I don't
Yeah.
remember the first.
Yeah, well, he was about to become a huge star.
Wow.
Well, we watched the sound check, and my mouth was on the floor
Yeah.
watching all of them: Lenny White, Stanley Clarke, Chick, and Bill Connors. Wow! Of course, I loved Intermounting Flame and Birds of Fire, but this was something different.
So, you know, you've got a really distinctive sound on electric guitar too. Um, okay.
Are you getting a decent sound there, or is it
I
noisy?
am, believe it or
Okay,
not.
good. Okay, here we go. I don't have it plugged in, but here's my baby.
A good old Fender Stratocaster.
Oh, wait a minute. I've only got one side. There we go. Yeah, this was a Stratocaster. Sort of, I inherited from the guy I played in a band with in high school. He was a bass player, but then he bought this. He put this pickup on it, a Super DiMarzio that weighs about 18 pounds, and then these two pickups, middle and what do you call this? The bridge? No, that's the bridge. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah, these were recommended by Ron at St. Paul Guitar, and I don't even know what they are. But
Well,
this is an awful year for Stratocasters. This is the worst year, the CBS year or something. But
yeah.
we've done enough work on it so that it sounds pretty cool.
So what overdrive, if I may, I'm not going to get too deep into the gear thing. How are you getting that distorted sound you use to such fine effect?
Just a Marshall JCM 800.
Oh well, that's good. So
That's it.
you just crank that baby, and you're in your own studio. So who's going to
Well,
tell you?
there's also a way that the heavily wound pickup here interacts with the Celestians when it's very loud to make sort of a sound like power wires in central Minnesota getting tangled up by Ghidra or some monster from Japan, right?
Okay. But what do you do what did you do to get your distorted sound when you toured?
Oh, we just were loud.
You just crank? You brought your Marshall with you?
We did.
I love that. Yeah.
But it's a combo, so I can lift it.
Yeah.
But you know how it is these days, sometimes we judge gear on how easily we can carry it around.
That's pretty much my top priority at this point.
Right. I would never play with somebody who was insisted on an Ampeg SVT.
Yeah. All right, so this collaboration with, and I'm sorry, please pronounce her name, the Tibetan nun.
Choying Jolma.
So, did you go over to these monasteries thinking you were going to record these singers, or were you on some sort of hejira and you ended up in this place? I mean, you brought your recording gear. You must have had some planning involved.
I always brought my recording gear everywhere I went. I have a small. I used to work at Minnesota Public Radio, and a guy named Greg Barron went to record in Thailand when the boat people thing was happening. This is 75, 76, 77. He came back with these extraordinarily beautiful sounds on cassette, and I asked him what he'd taken with him, and it was a small Sony Pro Walkman. So I bought one, and I took that everywhere I went. Then I got a job working for the Naropa Institute Study Abroad program. I was the sort of organizer on the ground. I'd get there ahead of the students and take care of changing money, finding a black market connection, taking care of visas, hiring adjunct faculty, and being the director of health and well-being, if you can believe it. So,
wow.
My medical history.
Naropa. Okay, so this. All right. So before I change the subject to Naropa, you arrived at this monastery, heard these people singing, and said, "I must record this." Is that what happened?
Actually, one of the two of the translators and I were sitting on top of the monastery. There was a flat roof, having a beer at the end of the day, an Everest beer. All right, and Andreas Kretschmar took the last swig on his beer, put it down, and said, "Let's go hear the concert." And I said, "What are we going to hear?" And he said, "Just bring your recorder. Trust me." And it was Choying by herself in a shrine room singing songs of devotion or realization or whatever. I never really understood exactly what each song was about. But I thought this is a no-brainer. So I recorded it. I said, "Can I record?" And she said, "Yeah, sure." Her English was impeccable.
Wow.
She'd learned English, she later told me, by listening to Bonnie Raitt's album Nick of Time over and over. And then Bonnie came to see us in San Francisco.
Wow. Come on.
I said, well, I was putting out water for the nuns. We had Choying and two nuns, and I forgot to put out water for them. So I walked out on the stage, and the pin spots were on, and the house was full. And I looked up, and somebody said, "I brought my whole band up here from Los Angeles to see you," but I couldn't see her face. I could just see this corona of red hair with the spots behind it. And I looked and looked, and I thought, oh, it's her.
Wow.
We had a little bit of a connection through Dave Ray, who's this is his building that I'm sitting in right now. If you know Dave Ray,
I don't.
Kerner, Ray, and Glover, Willie Murphy, an old friend of mine, produced Bonnie's first record here in Minneapolis. So I went down and told Marc, and Marc said, "Don't tell Choying." And then somebody came down and said, "Bonnie Raitt's here," and Choying sort of looked a little greenish at that point. But Choying is so tough, and so good and determined. She went up and just killed it.
So Bonnie Raitt was a fan of yours already, or knew about the nuns?
No, it was this record.
Ah.
She heard this record, Cho, and said, she told me it's in her top 5 next to a Howlin' Wolf record and something by Muddy Waters or somebody else. Oh, all right. Well, thank you. It's incredible.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it was easy enough just to go over there and record, come back after making a deal with Joe Boyd, and then going back to Kathmandu specifically to record. And I said, "Marc, do you want to go?" And he said, "Yeah, of course."
Okay, so you didn't use just what you had the first time. You went back over and recorded.
Yeah, all I had the first time was a rough tape recorded to a Sony Pro Walkman. It was good enough. Joe could hear what was happening.
Yeah. Wow.
And he said, "How much? Where do we sign?"
This record has a very special quality to it, the one with called Show. And I think that you might agree with me that so-called cross-cultural collaboration are a minefield, or can be, and they have their own challenges. There's a lot more going on today than there used to be, but there's a lot of ways that they can go south. And I think this has an extraordinarily natural feel to it. And could you hear in your head at the time where this was going? Did this feel like an obvious fit to you? And I'm going to ask one other question about that. The reason I'm asking this is what's interesting is what happens before the magic happens. Like, how does one as an artist end up with a magical creation like that record? Oftentimes it's by accident or by some sort of twist of fate. Sometimes it's really planned out. And I think how you get there has as much to do with your internal state and your curiosity as anything else. And I do believe that I read somewhere that you were a big meditator. Am I right about this? Or maybe you just have a meditation practice, but
I'm a small meditator.
Is Eastern spirituality, was that a part of the impetus for this in any way?
Well, you've set up about 3 minefields there now.
Yeah. Good luck.
To speak to your question about cross-cultural collisions, this is definitely what would you call it? Sort of stealing from, or using, or what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, there is a word that people use to dismiss this type of thing. That's just south of colonialization.
Well, let's use colonialization. That's fine, but but this is a good one and done very respectfully.
Definitely.
Moreover, I cleared this with everybody before I did it, with Choying, with the abbot, with the abbess of the monastery. Mm. This is what's going to happen. This is where money is going to come from. Here's how the publishing will work. Yeah. Should I go ahead with this? I asked her teacher, Chokyi Nyima Rinpoche, is this okay? And he said, there's nothing wrong with this. He said, I'm like a guy who jumps on a train and shovels coal into the furnace for a little while and then gets thrown off the train. So all I'm saying is, to me, this sounds like something worth doing. Where we got the most pushback was from Westerners.
Of course.
Not the Tibetans.
Yeah, of course. the mind police.
Yeah, a little bit of this. But I think we got through that, especially by doing a lot of touring, by letting Choying explain herself, and by Choying's tremendous success with her music in establishing a school for nuns, a place where people could get dialysis, a place for older women who had been kicked out by their families. She did a lot of good. She proved herself. She was very tough. So producing yourself, this is an all-day party.
Yeah.
Did anything work today? If it resonates with your own mind and there's a little voice that says, yes, that worked, then it stays. Tomorrow, you may come back and understand it didn't work at all.
Yeah. So
however, there are some... Steve Lake, the former head of promotion at ECM for Exploded View, started his press release saying, this record may seem is going to be a little less meditative than what we've expected from Tibbetts.
Okay. Well, not all of it is. There's some raging guitar playing.
And I can find meditative feelings in a lot of what Hendrix did.
Absolutely. But I want to be clear that I am not pigeonholing Steve Tibbetts, because your output is pretty vast and diverse throughout. There's a through line, though, for sure, and that's one of the places it visits in my mind. And I think that's partly what attracts people to it, because they need it.
I need it too.
Mm-hmm.
I need it at work. When I'm writing my notes at night, working as a nurse, I'm probably not going to listen to science fiction by Ornette Coleman, or Interstellar Space by John Coltrane. I'll listen to A Love Supreme, or Music for 18 Musicians. I need that between 8 and 10 when I'm writing my notes up, and I have some of the residents there sitting with me. That's what we'll listen to.
Yeah,
it's very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
It can be really easy to fall into a sort of swampy pit of drones and just sort of let that go, put a book on the keyboard, go have lunch, come back, and you've got a record.
Well, there's a lot of that going around in New Age circles. I don't listen much to it, but you're up to something very different. So, I think part of it is that the magical way that you got your guitar to sound. That's a huge part of it, where one chord just sounds absolutely beautiful. So, to me, you don't need to do much.
It would be nice to be able to do make all that that feeling with just solo guitar. Maybe it's in there. And I just haven't tried hard enough.
Yeah, who would be somebody who's come close to doing that? Ralph
Towner
with his 12 string, for sure.
Do you know the record by him, Solo Concert?
Yeah, that's amazing.
He did it.
Yeah. I mean, people talk about John Fahey a little bit that way. I never quite got that. I think a big part of it for Ralph was some of those open tunings also, because the guitar would start to sound like an orchestra.
He uses open tunings?
Yeah, certainly with the 12 string he's done. He did some of that, especially with those Norwegian records. But not exclusively, though. But, you know, the guitar's really hard to play. I'm sure you've noticed. And so to create, like a piano can do that so much easier, what we're talking about. You know, solo piano. Solo guitar is really hard.
It is, but there's more... There's a little more voice in it for me.
Yeah.
Than this would be hard to do on a piano.
Oh, that is for sure.
You know, I think Thelonious Monk was famous for being able to find notes between notes by hitting them just right, so it would sound like he was bending.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's easy on guitar. And as a side benefit, no arthritis.
Right.
When I travel and I stop playing, I can feel my hands start to contract a little bit.
So playing helps.
It appears so.
Interesting. Wow. Because that's a big neck on that guitar.
It's strung sort of high too. Ron Tracy at St. Paul Guitars says, "Are you sure?" Yeah. I want it this high.
Yeah. So, I'm curious who some of your favorite guitar players are when you listen.
I bet you can guess. Give me two. I'll give you two.
Well, I know Jimmy's one of them.
Yep.
I mean, we already mentioned Ralph and John McLaughlin.
Bill Connors.
Bill Connors.
Okay, here's an obscure one for you. Growing up in Madison, you know how it is when you're 14 and you're out to see a band, and these are guys in their 20s. It seems like they're ages older than you, but they're out on the road and they're playing. There was a band from Appleton, Wisconsin named Soup, and there was a guitar player named Doug Yankus who died very young. When he and his band would come to town, the first few rows were all young guitar players trying to figure out, what do I do? How can I play like this guy?
Wow. I think we all have a guy like that.
Well, there was Doug Yankus, and then there were players from the other high schools in town. There was always a band, high school band, right? And my drummer, not my drummer, but the drummer, Doug Ross, would say, why can't... I think he would say it a little more subtly, but why aren't you able to do the things that Gary Geisler from Sal Sax does, that Mark Hambrick from Joshua does, that Jim Farrow from Merrill Springs Blues Band does? So I would have to study them, too.
That's great. So are there...
Harvey Mandel.
Oh, wow.
you know, in the old days, we were able to. In the old days, here we go. In the old days, we were able to take a record and slow it down to 16 because we had those kind of turntables. Usually, I was successful. I was able to figure out how to play "I'm Going Home," Alvin Lee's performance at Woodstock, by slowing it down and really, really working hard. But if you listen to Harvey Mandel's lead line at the end of the band he had, Pure Food and Drug Act with Sugarcane Harris, the way he ends Soul Food, I slowed that down. I couldn't make sense out of it at all, but it's incredible what that guy does.
I've got to check that out.
Yeah, listen to his lead break in the same album, Choice Cuts, the lead break in their version of Eleanor Rigby. What is he doing?
Wow. Okay.
Have you ever seen him?
I never have.
Oh. Well, that was another guy that the 16, 17-year-olds, 17-year-olds, we guitar players in Madison would go see. We'd go see Jim Schwall, the Siegel Schwall Band, and Harvey Mandel would come up frequently from Chicago to play a club called the Stone Hearth, and there we were with our mouths on the floor. All he had was a gold top Les Paul and a Marshall.
Wow.
That was it.
I'm going to let you go, but man, this has been fascinating, and there's probably about 20 other questions I'm going to think of.
Well, the word we were looking for was appropriation.
That's the one. I blocked it.
Right.
Yeah,
and
I'm not a big fan of that word.
This has been a question. Do you feel like you're appropriating somebody else's tradition and their music? And the answer is yes. I do feel like it, of course, but it's a really good appropriation.
I'd have to look up the exact meaning of the word in the dictionary, but to me the connotation is one of thievery, of not honoring a culture or a tradition. And to me, early on, because I was always interested in music from other places, I was mindful when I got a little older that if you respect the source, then you're okay. Respecting the source, you detailed all the ways you did that in your collaboration. Respecting the source also has to do with acknowledging where stuff comes from. You know, but how could I be a jazz musician if I didn't believe that one should be able to traverse these cultural borders? I think it's absurd. And
well, find music that's not appropriation.
Exactly. All music.
There's some that's a little gratuitous. Like after Cho came out and after it sold well and after we were on the road, my post office box became the upper Midwest headquarters for people sending me drones with nuns or monks over them.
Really?
Oh yeah. Can you do something with this? Can you get me a label? And it was all horrible. It was terrible. It didn't seem to have much ground in it.
That's a good word. Well,
or people would say, would you like to make another record like that for our label? And we did 2 records. We did Cho. And as you said, the genie came out of the bottle for that one. We did Bottle Lightning. We struck gold on that. Not because of intention, but because of good luck and more good luck.
Uh-huh.
So we thought, let's do it again. Let's find another label. Let's do one on 6 Degrees. A good record, but you can't, I don't think you can say, let's make something magic happen, unless you're John Coltrane. What do you think he told his people before they went into the studio to do A Love Supreme? Let's make magic, or did they just do it?
They just went and played.
Yeah, Garrison and Tyner.
But intention means everything.
But if you intend to make a magical, timeless record, lots of luck.
Well, I agree, but I think his intention was, for whatever it's worth,
pure,
in a elevated spiritual state.
Well, he did say once, somebody, how do you want to be remembered? And he was in his early 40s, late 30s, a little early to ask somebody. He said, I want to be remembered as a saint.
Wow.
I think he pulled that off.
Yeah. Well, but this issue of spiritual music is fraught for me, because this idea that there's a spiritual jazz and a not spiritual jazz is faintly ridiculous to me, because is Love Supreme really more spiritual than In a Silent Way?
Well, give me a title of a tune that you think is the most unspiritual song you could think
of. Inagata Devita.
Oh, I think that's really spiritual. I'm not kidding.
Exactly.
I mean, this was a breakthrough for our band because we could play it. And
all that cosmic psychedelic stuff.
Oh man, it was 17 minutes long, the whole side of a record. Well, we could do it for 2 hours.
So there you go.
Or let's get even stupider. What about the 1910 Fruit Gum Company?
Right. Hang on, Sloopy?
No, that's the McCoys. That's up there a few levels, because that's got Rick Derringer in it. Let's talk about Yummy, Yummy, Yummy. I've Got Love in My Tummy.
Okay.
So you're 13 and you're going to the first co-ed party. It's 1966, and that comes on the radio, and you're just filled with possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit of a stretch, right?
Well,
but it's hard to find. The point is that it might be hard to find music that is rapaciously unspiritual.
Well, okay, so A Long and Winding Road is a love song, but then is that more spiritual than I Am the Walrus? I'd maintain that in all your recordings, there's a certain feeling that I wouldn't even bother labeling, even though we did throw around the word meditative and such, that is just you on planet Earth being who you are, and that's attracting whatever else comes to it, whether it was this nun or something else. And that's what I celebrate in you, is your individual voice, which I'm guessing you don't even really know where it came from. Am I right?
You're right.
And that's cool.
It's not that unusual. If you do the same thing for 50 years, 60 years. I'm 71 now, and I really started playing guitar a lot in the basement of my parents' house when I was about 11 or 12. You'll have an individual voice if you work as a cobbler for that long.
There you
a
go.
Set designer.
But you stuck to it. You stuck to who you felt you were.
Yeah. Also, I was very lucky. We went over this too. With ECM, with being able to spend time. You know what my rent is here in this building? It's been $300 a month since 1985.
Oh my God.
Luck, really good luck. Huh?
That's like Bill Connors.
Well, I'm not going to stop playing. I'm not going to pack up my stuff and say, it's too cheap. I quit. No, I mean, to tell you the truth, David, what I'm going to be spending the rest of my afternoon doing is tarring the roof because it's starting to leak. So, you know, have you ever worked with tar?
No, thank you.
Well, I know somebody told me the only thing worse is concrete. So I have started doing this, and it's difficult work, but
Yeah.
yeah, it takes the romance out of it a little bit. But the point is that I've been very, very lucky to be able to continue with what I've wanted to do for 60 years.
So, one other question. What the hell was happening at Macalester College so that you met? You started doing this back when you were in college. It was my understanding that you went to the recording studio there. It it sounded like a really hip place to be. Am I right? This scene in Minnesota?
Well, you can edit this as much as you want, but in '72 when I started at Macalester College, DeWitt Wallace, the scion of Reader's Digest, had just pulled all his funding from Macalester because he was tired of the dirty hippies saying mean things about Hubert Humphrey. That meant that Macalester was literally fraying around the edges. Take a course like physics for artists, okay?
Uh-huh.
That would be followed by astronomy, where you could go into the planetarium and fall deeply asleep.
Yeah.
Your next class, ceramics. And this is how I stumbled through 4 years thinking that I would probably be an art teacher. Macalester did, thanks to the head of the music department, Ed Forner, put in a 4-track studio in a room about the size of 6 phone booths laid end to end. And in probably December of '75, I thought, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to find a way to stay here, even if I have to break into the building, which is what I had to do.
Far out.
I would leave a window partly open and then sneak through it at night and work. And then I had a record.
So you made it happen. And let that be a lesson to any youngsters listening to this. Stick with it. Break the law if you need to.
Well,
as long as you don't hurt anyone.
Well, eventually they caught me and tossed me out, but by then the mix was done.
That is a great place to stop. Man, this has been such a pleasure. You've been kind of a mystery man to me. You know, that guy in Minnesota who doesn't tour, who makes all these really unusual, cool records. And it's so gratifying to me to finally meet you. And I look forward to meeting you in person.
It'll happen someday if we live long enough.
Absolutely. Thanks for doing this, Steve.
All right.
Over
Cheers.
and out.
Over and out.